This is Jared. This is just a little quick blurb on my advertisements. I have iHerb, Remedylink. Um, I have direct support for my Red Circle, which is my new host, as well as for every episode, I'll try to include relevant affiliate links, as well as my coaching as well. Please check them out. There's no obligation to donate or click or anything, but they really help support this podcast, and I'd really appreciate that. Hey everyone, this is Jared. This is our obligatory sponsorship audio blurb. This is just to tell people that I use Anchor. It's an awesome app. You can use it on, I believe, iPhone, Android, or your computer, and it's all connected, your account. It's very easy to do. You can make money from it, and there's no minimums. There's nothing to sign up for or pay for. And it automatically distributes it to a bunch of different platforms as well, too. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a lot more. The app is available on the iTunes Store, Android, and you can also go to the website, which is anchor.fm, to get started.
Absolutely. And feel free to ask me any question.
Okay. Yeah, so just if you can, just kind of give your background.
Okay.
You're kind of starting to talk about it, but in the Army and PTSD and other stuff like that.
Right. First off, I was born in Peru, and when I was 14, my family moved to the U.S., and I grew up in the U.S. I went to high school in the U.S., and I think I had a pretty normal life. I was trying to adapt to the culture and learn the language and everything. I was never able to get rid of my accent. So whatever you guys hear, that's just my Spanish Peruvian accent.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was 32, it was it was 2009, and the economy wasn't doing so well. So I couldn't find work, and I wanted to provide for my family. So the military is always hiring. So I reached out to the Army, and they said, sure, you qualify, you're good to go. And I went to basic training, and then I graduated. And then soon after that, I was in Germany as my duty station. And within a few weeks, I was in Afghanistan, and I was in the middle of combat for 10 months in Afghanistan.
And this was around, you enlisted around 18 or what age?
It was 2009 when I enlisted. And then by December of 2009, I was in Afghanistan.
Okay.
And then I spent 10 months in Afghanistan. And
how old were you at the time now?
I was 32, so I was one of those late older people.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
I was one of those older people. I mean, I was just so concerned that would I be able to keep up with these young people? Usually they're 18, 19. And I was even questioning myself whether I was going to graduate from basic because, it's tough. All the physical activities, all the things that you have to go through in basic training, boot camp, as they call it. And I was surprised that once you're put in the situation where you just have to adapt and overcome, then you do it. And I was happy that I graduated. I was happy that I made it through. And then I ended up in Germany as my duty station. And then I ended up in Afghanistan shortly after that. And when you look at my friends and when you talk to my siblings and my friends, I'm the least likely person to be in the military because I'm just a friendly guy. I'm not a very athletic guy. I love to talk, and it's not me. But I needed to take care of my family, so I took that route, and I was in the middle of combat, and 10 months of that, seeing my friends getting hurt, because you develop these friendships with the people that you are there with. It's no longer about, part of it is patriotism, but more of it is like you spend all this time with these guys where you become like brothers. So you're just protecting each other, and if somebody gets hurt, you feel it like a brother got hurt.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
so that's traumatic right there, seeing the people get hurt. You are basically, every day we were out there on patrols, and we were always getting into small little firefights, battles. They shot us, we shot back, and then we pursued. And every now and then they set up explosives where we just triggered explosives, and then people would get hurt. And I saw children get hurt because the people that live in that area, they also walk the same paths, and sometimes they also get hurt because of the booby traps that some of the people who were out to get us.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So all of that was very traumatic, but at the time I didn't realize it because I was numb, because every day you have this adrenaline pumping through your body because you're in survival mode. And it wasn't until later that I came back from the deployment that I was acting different. And some of the people that grew close to me began to tell me, hey, dude, you don't smile like you used to. Maybe you need to go talk to someone, because I'm a smiley, happy guy. That's my nature. And then I talked to a psychologist a couple of times, and that did the trick. But when you're in the military, you sort of don't want to go see a psychologist, because it's that stigma that, hey, I'm seeing a shrink, I'm seeing a psychologist, what does that say about me? So I put it off to the side, and it wasn't until years later, it wasn't until 2014 that I started drinking. And I was, I realized that it became, for 4 months, I was drinking every day. And I had it in the schedule to where by the time my wife came home, I was already sober up and clean and shaved and showered. So she didn't know that I was drinking. And then I quickly realized that that was not a long-term solution. And I took myself to the VA, spoke to the people there, and I said, yeah, I need to talk to someone. They gave me a therapist, they gave me a psychologist. And for 10 months straight, every 2 weeks, I would go see the psychologist. And one thing that now I realize is that what the psychologist did for me is he just allowed me to speak. He never gave me any tips, any advice. He just, for an hour, just like asked me questions, and I would speak, and he would encourage me to speak about the more difficult events that happened while I was there. So I spoke about the children getting hurt, seeing my friends get hurt. And over time, just speaking about that, it was just like taking a load off my shoulders. And now I realize that how the power of conversations, just speak without getting any advice, any feedback, just like speak, taking an idea to its logical conclusion. Then you begin to hear yourself and realize, okay, some of the things that I'm saying are not completely true, or you just get very specific about what you're feeling, because sometimes you feel angry, sometimes you feel frustrated, sometimes you feel shame for some of the way things went. And being able to, instead of saying I feel like crap today, to be able to say today I'm feeling angry, or today I'm feeling frustrated, or today I'm feeling overwhelmed. And all those little things helped me to put myself back together. But it was a process that I was very willing to go through, because I knew that the whole drinking thing was not a long-term solution, and I didn't want to ruin my relationships with my wife and my friends. And unfortunately, I see that some people don't take the option of going to see a psychologist, and then their lives get taken over by alcohol, drugs, and fighting, or things like that, and things spiral out of control because they use the least optimal solutions to their problem.
Yeah, definitely. And you were deployed for how long? About
10 months.
Oh,
I was
okay.
Yeah, I was 10 months in Afghanistan, and I was in the middle of combat the whole 10 months, just doing patrols, daily patrols. And when we came back, we were told I mean, we talk to some experts, you know, some mental health professionals, and they say in the beginning or for a while, you're going to be hyper alert. And because you're just so used to, you're on standby all the time. You never know when they're going to attack you and when you're going to have to go outside the wire, as we call it, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
go on a mission. And so even to this day, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just like hyper alert, looking around. Every time I walk into my house, I sort of look around, look at all the corners. Just I know that most likely nothing bad is going to happen, but force of habit, or maybe there's a little bit of anxiety inside of me still, where I need to make sure my house is cleared before I feel comfortable that I'm in my home.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Did it? I'm guessing it was quite an adjustment going from going, being in the military to kind of like civilian life, and even just working kind of, I guess, a regular job or career and other stuff like that. Did it take you a long time to kind of adjust to that, or was it? It must have been a
it,
big kind of
it
change.
did. As long as you're super busy, I think your body adapts and you sort of run on that anxiety of being busy. But whenever like when things slow down, for example, it didn't hit me really hard until I started going to school. I decided, okay, I'm gonna just, work part-time and I'm going to go to school. So my life was good. I was getting paid for going to school. I had my part-time job. I was happily married. All my kids were healthy. Everything was going great, and I was just being every day overwhelmed by this anxiety and emotion that something's wrong, and it flattens you. It's just it's hard to explain to people, but they just say, well, okay, you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. It's like feeling overwhelmed, but the whole day, and you don't know why. And it's eating you up from the inside. And it's
Yeah,
all these things that you've been bottling up inside, and they need to come out. And again, through counseling, through the speaking to the therapist, I was able to speak about those things. So they began to come out, and I felt lighter every time I left the office, because all those things, trauma, whether it was from war or whether because someone assaulted you or because of divorce or because of an accident, it, it weights you down, and you need to speak about it in such a way that it dies in the outside and doesn't die with you inside, because
oh
it
yeah,
tends, yeah, that's and I'm a huge proponent for people to speak in such a way that there is no interruptions. Just speak and try to articulate what you're feeling. And I think what happens, we mean well as humans, like we go and we're feeling overwhelmed, so we talk to someone, and immediately they go into, I'm going to fix it mode. Okay, I'm going to give you some advice. And it's like, no, you're interrupting the process. You need to empathically just listen to the person who wants to speak. And I think this
yeah,
is what I learned in therapy. Let someone speak until they're exhausted from speaking. And because each individual, you're the expert of you. So only you will be able to figure out how to make your life better. The advice, I feel that advice is autobiographical, meaning that what worked for me may not work for you. So, but speaking honestly, being vulnerable, and just letting it out, letting it all come out, allows you to figure out, okay, where was I? Where am I now? Where do I want to go? What am I saying that is complete bullcrap? What am I saying that is not helping me anymore? And who do I want to be? I mean, that's one of the questions that I ask myself a lot sometimes, because even to this day, after having gone to counseling and having had these epiphanies about me, some days I just wake up and I don't want to get out of bed, and I have to have a little conversation with myself. Okay, who do I want to be today? How do I want to show up in the world today? And I cannot change the past. Definitely the future's not here yet. So get out of bed, go shave, get yourself for the day, and
Yeah.
what do you want to do today? And then I go for it.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think, what is it? Especially like kind of empathy and compassion and stuff like that, especially even with therapists or other people, is a lot of people just kind of want to fix you or kind of push things on you. And people should really just kind of be allowed to kind of speak and speak their truth and stuff like that, I think. But yeah, that's really profound and kind of insightful, I think. You mentioned some other things. I know you mentioned ayahuasca and other things.
Yes.
Did you find that on your own research, or did someone suggest that, or was it something kind of like intuitively you kind of thought would help, or is there
I've
anything else that you've found, like maybe meditation or anything that has helped as well
I
too?
I've known about ayahuasca since I was a little boy, but growing up in Peru, ayahuasca comes originally from the Amazon, so it comes from Peru and Bolivia and Brazil, all those areas. And but because I grew up in a very religious home, I was always told that that was just no good. It's from the devil.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah.
so it was always suppressed, like that. It was something that I knew about, but I didn't pursue. And it wasn't until my mid 20s that I heard about stories about ayahuasca. And then when I was living in Europe, I heard a lot of people traveling from Germany to Peru to the Amazon to do ayahuasca. And I realized that I didn't know enough about it. So I started doing my research, and then I started uh, realizing that a lot of the people that I respected and admire, like writers, philosophers, professors, people that you know had businesses, little by little, I started hearing that they had done it and they had attributed a lot of their breakthroughs to ayahuasca. So then I said, you know what, I have to do it. I have to do it now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there is so much uh, research since the 60s about ayahuasca, how people who are addicted to drugs can overcome their addiction. People who have trauma can overcome their trauma by doing one or a couple of sessions of ayahuasca, and then they're able to what happens is you rediscover yourself. You're put in a position where, in the same way that I said that you need to speak to and have a thought to its logical conclusion, once you take ayahuasca, you have your thoughts and they run without the ego or without anything getting in the way. Just the thought just goes all the way through, and you're able to, in a way, see your entire life, past, present, future, or alternative futures. It's almost like a movie. Kind of like when you watch a movie, you buy a DVD and they say, well, alternative endings to this movie, and you begin to see all these different possibilities in your mind that play out. That I saw myself in some of the sessions that I did, where I was totally as a veteran who had lost his all his limbs, for example, and I was in a hospital. And not only do you see it like a dream, but you feel it like you're almost like in that, you embody that vision, and you feel it and you cry about it, and you feel the pain of it, and you have experience that you wish you never had in real life, but also you also have great experiences. You get to see yourself uh, having experiences, traveling the world, doing things, transforming yourself into animals and things like that. And
Hmm.
I think it's a beautiful thing. It's like having a multiple dreams, like I don't know, 100 dreams in one night every time you do it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting because I know from some research, and I've seen like some documentaries on stuff on it.
Mhm.
I think if I'm remembering right, there's I don't know if you're familiar with it because you're from Peru, but I thought there was a um, almost I want to say a church that kind of uses it as kind of like a spiritual practice, and it combines kind of I want to say Christian and kind of ayahuasca some too, but I think it's at like kind of a low dose. Are you familiar with that at all, or?
Well, I know in the U.S. There has been a couple of churches that have been able to practice and give that to the members of the church under the Religious Freedom Act. They're able
Yeah.
to practice that. I know the regulations have gotten tougher in the U.S., so it's very difficult to come by. If you really look, you will find it in Hawaii and other places. But yeah, it is because of the Religious Freedom Act that people can do it whenever it shows up in the U.S. It is definitely a ritual from the First Nations, I guess the indigenous of Peru. So they can practice it as much as they want because it is part of their culture.
Yeah. And when you did it, you said did you do it in Europe, you said, or did you do it in Peru, or both?
Yes, my wife is German, and I lived in Germany. Well, I lived in Germany for like 7 years on and off, but the last time I was there for 3 years as a civilian. And yeah, once I started doing my research, I learned that in the Netherlands, specifically in Holland, they had these retreat centers. They're more like spiritual retreats where you go there, and yeah, it's very well organized. You go there, and there is a briefing before you do the ayahuasca, and then before you go there, it's like a complete journey. You have to get into this diet because they warn you that you are going to throw up. They call it purging. You're going to purge, so they put you in a diet of very light food, because you may even soil yourself because the body is just trying to push a lot of stuff out. So I was in a diet for at least 3 days before I showed up there. Then you're given a briefing and you're told that you're always in control, and you are. I mean, sometimes if you need to be taken out of the room because you're seeing too much and you're experiencing too much, they'll take you to a separate room where there is no music, because somehow the music activates the experience, and then you just feel like you're tipsy. You feel like you feel inebriated. But once you get back into the room with the dim lights and the music consistently playing, it's almost like the music takes you into the dream like a dream state, and the patterns that you see and the dreams that you see sort of move to the rhythm of the music. And every time there is a change from one song or music to another one, then all of a sudden that dream that you were having goes away, and then a new one starts. So
interesting. And so you said you went on this retreat. Did you go on one or several, and how long did it last? Was it did you do like daily kind of drinking or ceremonies, or?
In the span of 15 months, I did it 7 times. The first time I went there, I did it once. The second time, 3 months later, I did it 2 days in a row. And then I went there again 2 times. That's 5 times. And the last time again, I did two times, 2 days in a row. So basically you take the way they serve it over there. There's 2 plants actually. In the Amazons, they mix it all together, but over there, one of it is an inhibitor that keeps your body from breaking down the ayahuasca too fast. And so you take this inhibitor, and then they wait 15 minutes. So that has no hallucinogenic effect or anything like that. And then you take the other shot, and that shot, within 15 minutes, then you begin to feel like you want to throw up. At least the first time you feel like you want to throw up. And then after you throw up, they call it the purge. They give you a bucket. They set you up. They give you a nice little comfortable bed with a pillow, a blanket. They give you a bucket, some tissue paper, and water. So, and then the people that give you the briefing, they're your guides. So if you need help, if you need support, if you need someone to hold you, you just say, hey, you just raise your hand, and they come and they know what you need because they've been watching you the whole time. So it's very, very safe. The reason why some people have gotten into trouble, like have gotten hurt from doing ayahuasca, is when they did it on their own and they freaked out and they ran outside their house, and then they were exposed to all the elements while they were under the influence.
Oh yeah.
So no, it's something that you have to do it with a lot of respect, because they say there is a feminine essence, a feminine presence that you feel while you do it. And they say she will discipline you, and she will teach you, and she will love you, and she will hold you, but don't underestimate her, because she will definitely discipline you. And so whenever you feel prompted deep inside, you feel like, okay, it's time to purge, time to throw up, and you fight it. Oh my gosh, you feel like you want to throw up even more, and you feel so sick. But if you just follow the promptings and don't try to, you just completely let go. You get your bucket, you throw up, and then the less you fight it, the more you get into the experience, and you can see lights, you can see all the shapes and lights as they showed in movies, or you can choose to learn and say, teach me. I completely surrender. I want to learn something new, because they ask you to go there with an intention. What do you want to get out of this? And I was just there like, teach me. And then sometimes just the voice tells you, because you hear these voices in your head, it's like, slow down, you're not ready for that. And sometimes you challenge, it's like, oh, you want to see that? Okay, here you go. Boom. And then you get an experience that you were probably not ready for. Like you see people you love died, or you see someone, you see in my case, I saw like these beautiful women, and then all of a sudden they just totally decay, and then they kind of like the whole process of decomposition happening.
Oh, really?
Right before, yeah, people totally like falling apart and decaying, turning into skeletons all the way to dust, and it's all happening like kind of like fast speed going through your life. It's the same experience that a lot of people say whenever they have a near-death experience, when they say, I saw my whole life flash before my eyes. It's almost like that. You see so many things that you've thought of before and things that you've never thought of before, and it's all consistently flashing before your eyes. You see people you love. I got to see my grandfather, who's already passed away. And then we both turn into tigers, and then we hugged each other and we melted completely like wax. And one of the things that my grandfather told me, because it's almost like visions, whenever you hear these Native Americans speak about after they do peyote and they commune with the spirits, it's literally like that. You get to see, it's almost like the skies are open, and then you get to see everything, and at the time you feel like you have the answer to every question. And I got to see my grandfather, and my grandfather said, so when are you going to step up and become the man of the patriarch of the home? Your brothers, your cousins, everyone, they need a father figure in the home. And we're all adults, but it's just like that old idea that Native Americans have, that the older you are, you're responsible for the tribe, and you are the repository of wisdom, and people come to you because you have that wisdom. And that's how culture is passed, through storytelling. And it was almost like it was a beautiful, bittersweet moment when I saw my grandfather, and then he said, now when are you going to step up and be the patriarch of the home? I'm like, oh gosh, that was intense.
Yeah. So did you, you said you kind of set an intention for each time. Was it about the same, or did you kind of, I guess, sort of get used to it over as you did it more and more? Was it kind of different every time, or because you said
you get curious, so you ask different things. The last one that I did, I wanted to experience wealth to the point where, you know how they say, be aware of what you wish for. Be aware of what you wish for, because you might get it. And I wanted to experience wealth, and I got to see all these visions where I was like super wealthy. Everything was like silk and leather, to the point where it was so intoxicating. The smells of oak and leather and silk and money, and I was just like, get me out of here. It just felt like a prison of everything that I could conceive as wealth, and it was all mine, and I was in the middle of it. And it was like a bad dream. It's like, get me out of here. I'm done. This is not real. It's just like, it's all a facade. And the thing is, when people talk about bad trips, it's just, you're done and you don't want to face it anymore. And it's basically like, you asked for it, so you get to hang out here for a while and you get to see it to it's the ridiculous end of it. And then once I was exhausted of that, it just switched into another dream.
Interesting. Yeah. Have you found anything else helpful as well? You said therapy, ayahuasca. Have you tried? You said you kind of grew up religious. Have you found like kind of praying or meditation or anything else that has been kind of helpful for you?
One thing that I would say, like, look, when people pray, if you break it down, it's like you go in there and you address something bigger than you, God, whatever you want to call it. Then you show gratitude. You say, thank you for this and that, everything that I have. Then you ask, hey, this is what I need. Can you please grant me these wishes or these desires of myself? And then you show faith. You're like, I believe in you, so I know you're going to grant me these wishes. And it's no different than just a good meditation of like, I am feeling happy and grateful for everything that I have, and what I want in my life to experience is. So we're all praying in one way or another, whether you believe in God or not. We're all going through the same processes, because you have to believe that it's something that you cannot live without, whether you're religious or not. And whether you say faith or believe, it's something that allows you to navigate through life, because we don't know everything. And the way I heard it recently described is faith or belief is that which fills the gaps between what you know and what you don't know, and helps you make it through. I'm going to do certain things, and I believe that if I do it right and if I do it consistently, I'm going to get a certain result. So definitely a meditation, a prayer, being in the moment allows me to have to focus on what I'm grateful for and what I want, and be able to be in a better place. And I've discovered that the way I get there to those prayers is through conversations, having a conversation, and not for the sake of getting advice from it or for having someone answer my or solve my problems, but speak so I can hear myself. And then I realize, what things am I saying are true? What things am I saying that are not completely true? And then I begin to change the way I articulate and communicate my intent, the way I see the world. And you let someone speak and you listen for a while, they'll tell you everything. I encounter a lot of people who tell me a lot of intimate things that they wouldn't share with a family member. And the reason why they do that is because I try to stand in a place of non-judgment. I'm just like, in a way, I'm like that bucket in the ayahuasca, because the ayahuasca is, you throw up and you're purging yourself of all those negative things. So, and that's something that I learned in one of my ayahuasca sessions. It's like, you want to make a difference in the world, become the bucket. And becoming the bucket is not giving people advice. It's just like, I'm here for you. Speak. I will honor your story. I will listen to you. I'm not even going to try to understand it, but I am fully present here listening to you, because in the end, it's that person who's struggling who needs to do all the work to put themselves together. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very very profound. I can't think of any questions off the top of my head. Is there anything else you want to kind of talk about or bring up?
Well, yeah, I would say, like, first off, if people are going through, we all have repressed memories, we've all gone through some negative or traumatic event at some point in one way or another, whether something happened to us when we were younger or recently, or maybe our father left us or our mother died, or we all go through all these events and we just push them down, and eventually that comes out one way or another. And I would say, if you have access to talk to a therapist, a psychologist, do it. And you will discover a lot of things about yourself that you didn't know. If you don't have access to that, or it's out of reach for some reason, then find someone that you trust. And it's very difficult to ask someone, I want to share something with you, but I don't want answers. I don't want advice. Could you just be there for me while I speak? Because I don't even know what's going to come out, but I feel that it needs to come out. And identify a person who can honor your story and you can talk to. That's number two. Number three, if you don't have access to the first two, get a piece of paper and write your thoughts into it, and keep writing until you're able to articulate what you're feeling, and do it again and again and again. To me, thinking and writing are very similar, are pretty much the same thing, except that in the writing, when you speak or when you think, they're just ideas bouncing in your head. But when you put it on paper, it's right in front of you. And you may think that you're feeling bad because, I don't know, I just feel bad. And maybe what you're feeling today is anger, or maybe what you're feeling today is frustration. You need to identify what it is that you're feeling so you can create a plan of how to deal with it. You're the expert of you. So yeah, you need to let it out one way or another, because otherwise it will consume you. And then you will keep wondering, why is my life not working? Why am I so dissatisfied? Well, speak it into being. Just let it out, and listen to yourself, or read what you wrote. And then you will begin to identify that some of the things that you're saying are probably hurting you more than anything. Have you ever had a thought in your mind that was so clever, but the moment you spoke, you realize how it just didn't even make sense?
Yeah, I get like that sometimes, actually.
We all do, and I think that's what happens with our thoughts. In our mind, they sound clever. I mean, sometimes we're so mean to ourselves, like I remember waking up one morning and I had a dream, and this was recently, like 2 months ago, and I had a fist fight with my brother. And we're not like that, we love each other, but I had a fist fight with my brother. And I remember waking up and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a stupid dream, I'm a piece of shit. And I'm like, why would I say that about me?
Oh yeah.
But we say things like that to ourselves, and consistently we're very, very harsh to ourselves. And we need to be mindful of how we talk to ourselves. And the more mindful we are of how we talk to ourselves and how we treat ourselves, then also our relationships with other people will change. We often have these troubles with relationships, and the first relationship that we have to have harmony with is the relationship that we have with ourselves. How do we treat ourselves? How do we talk to ourselves? And I think that it's very helpful to have conversations, or to talk to a psychologist, or to write it down. And then eventually you begin to treat yourself like someone you love. And then your relationships in the outside, with your parents, with your friends, with your siblings, begin to change, because you started treating yourself like the person who deserves to be treated nicely. And those things I've learned. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't really think of anything else. Any other questions? If there's anything else you kind of want to add, or
I would encourage people to, like I said, find mental health, and also to at least once in a lifetime, try ayahuasca in a controlled setting where there's people have prepared the space and have prepared you, and you prepare yourself to do it. I mean, some people may call it's a recreational drug, and I would say recreational is not the proper term for it, because there is nothing recreational about you being faced with how full of crap you are. You've been faced with you, seeing the core you, and how you need to make yourself better so you can make the world better. And it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it. You just walk out of there like knowing that you need to step up and be a better person there, because you are whoever you are and however you think, it ripples into the world. And if you're not in harmony with yourself, you create more of that into the world.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that's probably about it. Thank you for coming and speaking. I know we had to reschedule and everything, but it was really profound, insightful, and especially the ayahuasca and especially all you've been through, especially with your combat experience and stuff like that, and even just in the civilian life.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I love having this conversation. And yeah, thank you so much. I wish you all the best. And if you ever want to invite me again to have a different conversation, I'll be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, I'd love to. You're only my second guest so far, but you've been last guest was really good too, but you are been really good and profound and stuff like that too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know this time is a time of changes. There's a lot of things that are going to be different within the next few months, few years. You're going to find a lot of people reinventing themselves. I think this is a good opportunity for people to do a little more thinking and communicating. Who do I want to be? Because we're all going to be sort of forced to reinvent ourselves. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot of guests that are going to go through a process of changing and becoming. I mean, we're always becoming.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to feel it a little more now.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.